the best way I can tell you to face and work with AI is it's not a thing. Think of it as it is an assistant. If you hired a new assistant today, you wouldn't expect it to know you wouldn't expect that person to know everything about you, what your business is, what your plans are, who your clients are, what your product or your service is. You would have to train that person.
We are talking AI and technology. You are not going to want to miss this episode. It is full of information. You're going to meet Phyllis, a systems strategist who helps midlife women unlock the power of AI to simplify their business and life. With over 30 years of experience as an IT consultant, management consultant, CPA, and an AI and automation strategist, Phyllis has worked in many industries, solving business and tech problems for clients, and you're going to hear all of it. She is now focused on helping consultants and coaches and entrepreneurs who are ready to level up their group coaching, memberships, and evergreen to expand their reach and increase their income while saving time using AI and automation strategies. It's an awesome episode, so grab that warm cup of coffee and your notebook. Let's go. Hello, beautiful Redlo women. How are you today? It's Terri here, your coach and biggest cheerleader. I'm here to put a little bit of inspiration in your day. Welcome to the Redlo Women podcast, where we empower midlife women to reclaim their confidence, rise higher, and step boldly into their next chapter. And we do it together. I became a midlife entrepreneur after overcoming my own self-doubt to start this podcast, write my book, and coach women just like you. And I did it all in my 50s. I knew I wanted more after navigating my own life transitions, overcoming some really hard things, and trying to figure out what was next. As I did, I decided to help you do the same. So grab your warm cup of coffee or step into your favorite tennis shoes and let's step forward together. Let's go. Well, hello everyone. Hello, wonderful Redlo women. I am so excited for you all to meet my guest today. You're going to meet Phyllis Winters, and I met Phyllis actually on LinkedIn, and I was so captivated by who she is and her bio and what she does. So y'all are going to just be so blessed today. And as I shared in the intro, she works with coaches and entrepreneurs who are ready to level up their business, especially with technology and AI. Something that freaks most of us out, especially as we step into this entrepreneurial space. And so I thought, what better person could be here than Phyllis to share her story and her experience and what she does and give us a little bit of encouragement. So without further ado, Phyllis, thank you so much for being here. Welcome. And most importantly, thank you for saying yes. I'm so excited about this.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. I love talking about AI and technology, and I especially love talking to women about AI and technology. So I'm very happy you asked me. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And we had the opportunity to talk a little bit this week, so I got to know you even a little bit more. I would love to just start kind of from the beginning and hear your story, because you have a really fascinating story, your journey to where you were to where you are now, and especially where you started in college, because back in the day when you went to college, women in technology wasn't a thing, right?
The STEM had not been invented yet as a thing. And I grew up the oldest of 6 kids, and our parents were fairly checked out. So I ended up being the semi-parent leader, organizer, cheerleader, caretaker. And so I was very determined that I wasn't going to live like that. So I was going to go to college, and I just knew I was taking college prep courses in high school. And my senior year, my father sat me down and said, Phyllis, you got to get out of these college prep things, take a typing class so you can get a job. And I said, Dad, I'm going to college. And he goes, we can't afford it. And I said, well, I'll figure it out. And what I did is, in those days, there was grants and loans and scholarships and work study. And I was the first person on either side of my family to go to college with all of that financial help. And in the end, it turns out that when I was in high school, my senior year was the first computer came into our high school. And I was fascinated. I've always been an engineer, and I always fix things, and I'm a problem solver. So programming was just natural to me, and I absolutely loved it. So when I got to college, I was like, I'm going to major in computer science. And so that was my major. And I knew that wherever computers were going to be used when I got out of college, it would be in a business. So I minored in business and economics. So I was taking business law and accounting 101 and econ courses just for the heck of it. And that was all well and good. The end of my sophomore year, I sat down with my advisor and he goes, "Oh, you're doing really good. I had good grades and everything." And he goes, "So what are your plans when you graduate?" And I said, "Well, I want to get a good job. I've got college loans that I have to repay." And he looks at my paperwork and he goes, "There's no jobs in computers." And he didn't say it, but in parentheses, he meant for women. And
Yeah.
I said, "Oh boy, well, I got to get a good paying job. I've got these loans. Where is the money? Where can I get a high paying job?" And he said, "Oh, well, accounting." And I'm like, "Oh, good. I'm good with math. Numbers are numbers. I can do this." And I already had taken accounting 101 and 102. So in those 2 years, my junior and senior year, I stayed through the summers and ended up doing a 4-year degree in 2 years, got a job with a big 8 accounting firm, Price Waterhouse. And then I went on and took the CPA exam. And unusually, in those days, there was no calculators. So you had to do all the work by hand.
Wow.
And there's 5 sections. And what they would tell you to do is study for 2 sections because you can't pass all 5 at once. And I was like, "Well, I'm going to try. I'm not going to do this again." So I studied day and night for like 4 months and I passed the whole thing all at once. And I was so relieved because then I was freed up to go get my master's degree in computer science from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, which is a very high-end tech college. And I was thrilled because now that was like 5 years. It was about 6 years after I graduated. And by then, women were in computers. So then I became a management consultant and used the computer knowledge that I had. And then can I keep going to the next one?
Yeah. This is because I think that was one of my big takeaways when you and I spoke the other day, was just thinking about, wow, when you started this, like you said, STEM wasn't around and women weren't doing this. And so not only are you just kind and beautiful, but you're incredibly intelligent and you really paved a way. So yes, please keep going.
So there I was as a management consultant working on my master's degree in computer science. And along comes the first IBM PC and the first Apple computer. And I was working in businesses and everybody had a mainframe. Some people would have a terminal, like usually it was data entry people would have a terminal. And what happened was if you wanted anything done, you had to go put in a request to the IT department. And it was just very clunky, and computers were not considered part of the day-to-day work for most people in an office. And when I saw the first IBM PC, I was like, there's going to be one of these on every single person's desk. And I went to the managing partner and I said, "Hey, I think these PCs are going to be big. And I think Pete Marwick," that was the consulting firm, I said, "I think Pete Marwick should start a PC consulting for a division, and I want to be a part of it." And he kind of looked at me, and he didn't physically, but he kind of figuratively kind of tapped me on my head. "Oh, you little thing. No, that's never going to happen. Mainframes are the whole future. And this is just nonsense. It's a flash in the pan." So I went away and I said, "Okay." And then over 6 months, I saw it starting. So I went back to him and I said, "Hey, if you're not going to do this, I am." And he goes, "Oh, good. Go ahead. Your job's still here. Like you can always come back when this doesn't work out." Well, that was over 30 years ago, obviously. And here I am. And so I did that. I started the firm on my own. And it was really kind of scary because I was only 27 and I looked like a Barbie doll. So nobody would take me seriously. So I lied and said I was 30. So people would take me more seriously. And then when I turned 30, I couldn't have a party because everybody thought I already was 30. So
oh, that's awesome.
So that was fun. So I started that first PC consulting company in Connecticut, which is where I lived at the time. And I did that on my own for, I don't know, 12 or 13, 14 years. And then computer networking was a thing. And I hired a person, a man, to help me take the networking side. And it ended up, I hired him, but then when I realized that the networking was important, I made the mistake of offering him a 50-50 partnership, which I never should have done, but I did. And then advance into the future. And, I put in money and time and helped build up his side of the business. And our agreement was when it all worked and that was going, then we would invest in my side. Well, that never happened. When we got the other side up and running, he decided he didn't need me anymore because I didn't fit in to the networking and all that. So we ended up breaking that partnership up. He bought me out, and I ended up moving out west to start over here in the I'm in the Nevada, Sierra Nevada mountains, and I love it here. This is where I always wanted to end up. And so that put me online because I had clients back in Connecticut that I was still connecting to. Zoom wasn't even really a thing. This was like in 2016, 2017. And Zoom was there, but it wasn't the complete everyday thing that it is now. But I did that, but I wanted to increase my business and I was in the online space. So I said, oh, I'll just do what I always did. Because for all those years, I never did any marketing. I would just go in.
Wow.
My background, as I said, I'm a CPA, I'm a programmer, I'm a management consultant, an IT consultant, a strategist. So the only way that I ever got clients was one of my clients would be at an event or on the golf course, and they would be whining about some problem they had. And my client would say, oh, you need to talk to Phyllis. And so they would, and I'd come in, and because of my cross-disciplinary expertise, I could be the one person in the room and I could handle the accounting questions and the finance questions and the IT questions and the structure questions and the strategy questions. So I was very much in demand, and that was my niche. Yeah, I was unique. I was the only person who did that. How much more niched can you get?
Right.
But my niche was I could work for anybody. I worked for doctors groups, lawyer groups, manufacturers, distributors, landscapers, but everybody, because really business is business, computers are computers, accounting is accounting. And my niche was I do it all. Well, get into the online space and try to say, oh, I can do anything for anybody. That used to be my superpower. Well, now it was nothing. And now they say if you do everything for everybody, you don't do anything for anybody because nobody hears you and thinks, oh, she can help me. So that was a rude lesson I had to learn, that I had to niche down. And that was one rude lesson. And then the other rude lesson was all of the programs and all of the systems that I was using with the brick and mortar clients were all desktop based, and in the manufacturers there were machines in the factory that had computers, and in accounting they had computers, and in planning they had computers, but they were all locally based on the server, local. So now everything's in the cloud and now everything's online, and all of the systems that I had known for all those years didn't apply. It was all brand new. And it was so frustrating for me. And I was really aggravated. But in the end, God always, puts what you need in front of you right when you need it. And what happened was I learned how frustrating it is for my clients who are when I was just starting online, everybody said, oh, Phyllis, you've been doing this for years. I'm like, no, I haven't been doing this for years. So I had to learn it from scratch. And I realized it was so hard for me in the beginning. And I know a lot about computers and software and systems and integrating. And that made me really feel and appreciate what my clients were going through, because they're not tech people. They're just entrepreneurs. They're just people trying to start a business. And everybody was telling them, well, you have to build a funnel. You have to set up your calendar link. You have to set up your sales page. You have to, and I'm like, whoa, in my world, brick and mortar world, they hired me to do all the computer stuff. In the online world, all my clients were being told they should do it themselves.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. So I'm not complaining because I got a lot of clients, but it's that whole difference between the brick and mortar world and the online world. It's real.
It's huge, isn't it? Yeah. And I think you and I shared, I came from an entrepreneurial background. That was such an aha for me when I was speaking to you the other day, because similarly, I came from a brick and mortar entrepreneurial background, but being here online, it's just so different. And a couple of takeaways, like you have really reinvented yourself several times. And, and I love that. And I love the journey of everything you've been through, got you right here to where you are now. And
as hard as it was, Terri, I
Yeah.
wouldn't change it. Like when my
Mm.
business partnership broke up, I was
Yeah.
devastated.
Yeah.
But in the end, it had to happen because he was never going to do what I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
like I say, God, the universe, whatever, realized, Phyllis, for you to do what you want to do, you can't do it here. I
Yeah.
didn't know that at the time, and I was just, heartbroken.
Yeah.
But it was the right thing. And now, so I reinvented myself again. But
Right.
when you reinvent yourself, you're not starting from scratch. I was bringing all of that stuff with me,
Right.
all that experience, all that expertise, all of those skills. So I always tell people when you feel like, oh, I'm starting over, it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're just starting from where you are. That's
Right.
not starting over.
Right. And all that experience that you bring, and it's so much fun to see how it all kind of accumulates. And I think that's the best part of being at this season of life is that all that
Yes,
life experience, it's a superpower. It's a great asset. It's not a
it is.
negative.
No,
And,
you're right.
you're just reinforcing that as you're talking. Cause one of the things that you have in in your LinkedIn that I love so much is that you say behind the scenes, our business, we look like we have it all together, but behind the scenes, we're duct taping it all together. And as you're speaking, I'm like, woohoo, I'm probably your ideal client. We're someone who's started in this entrepreneurial space, or we have a few years into it, and we're told to do all the things, all the funnels, all the blah, 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 blah. And we all get all so overwhelmed. So share who your ideal client is and then kind of dive into the AI aspect because I'm so intrigued by that and how you kind of help. Maybe I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but speak to the person that's really afraid and intimidated by all this AI. It's a part of our culture where we are, and kind of how you help with what you do, help people automate and unduct tape everything, and kind of make it all smooth.
Okay. Well, first of all, if you think of it, like I mentioned earlier, I was there when the first PCs came out. So
Yeah.
I was also there when the internet was born. So
Wow.
if you think of it that way, when the internet came out, everybody was freaking out just like they are now with AI. And now we all have the internet. Where would we be without the internet? So ultimately, AI is going to be that way. But between here and there, when you feel that way, the best way I can tell you to face and work with AI is it's not a thing. Think of it as it is an assistant. If you hired a new assistant today, you wouldn't expect it to know you wouldn't expect that person to know everything about you, what your business is, what your plans are, who your clients are, what your product or your service is. You would have to train that person. And it's the
Mm,
same with AI. I
mm,
think people many times hear AI, and they
yeah.
go to the Chat GPT or Gemini or Claude and they type things in, but they're asking very vague questions. And they're asking it to an assistant that doesn't know anything about them and doesn't know anything about what they're talking about, their clients, their business, their process. It knows nothing. So they go, like, this is just
Right.
like glorified Google. I don't get it. And it's wrong. Like what it's saying is wrong. That's like, no, it's not wrong. It's uninformed. So the
Oh, I
way
love
I
that.
teach my clients to learn to get along with AI is to remember that it treat it like it's an assistant. And you
Mm,
would not hire somebody today and then go, okay, I'll be back tomorrow. You figure it out. You would train that person. And AI is the same way. And if you train it, it does actually become like an assistant. And the very cool part about AI
so
is
cool.
when you do the prompting, I call
Yeah.
it promptology. So it's kind of like an art and a science. And
Yeah.
what you do is you tell it, you say, if you want to work on, for instance, if you're working on LinkedIn posts, for instance, you tell it you are a social media content expert.
Mm,
Okay, so now it's going to filter out anything other than that mindset. And you said expert. So it's not going to be wishy-washy. It's going to give you expert advice. And then you ask it what you want. You tell it you can upload documents about you, about your clients, about your ideal client, your offer, everything you want. And you can say, please read the documents I just uploaded and let me know if you have any questions. And it will.
wow.
And
That's
then
a huge that's a huge takeaway for me. I didn't even know you could do that. And because I wrote down here, you only get back the same really good high quality information from the great questions that you asked. So this is great. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's
No,
huge
no,
takeaway.
and you brought me back. Remember back in the day when I was there, when computers, not quite when computers were born, but when PCs were born, and we used to always say garbage in, garbage out. And those
Yeah.
were in the days when a guy used to write programs. And I would be at a business, for instance, a manufacturer, and they're making whatever they're making, and they've got the raw material, they've got the production line with all the machines, and then out comes the product at the end. And what they would do is at the end of the day, those machines would print up a little report, and they'd walk down the hall with the report and hand it to accounting, and then accounting would type it all in. And I went, no, 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 no. No, we could do that. So I would write a program that would make them talk to each other and make it easier. And it didn't require a person to do that work. And
Wow.
that garbage in, garbage out really comes into effect. And just like that, if I didn't make the program do precisely what needed to be done, it didn't matter that we cut out the manual data entry. If what ended up in the accounting system wasn't right, that's garbage in, garbage out. So
Yeah.
now bring that forward to AI, and it's like that's on steroids, garbage in, garbage out. And it goes back to
Wow.
what I was saying about training it. And that way it has the context of what you ask for, and it knows about you. And then if you tell it it's an expert, it will give you expert advice. And it can be
Wow.
an expert on anything. So basically, you're hiring a room full of experts
Yeah.
as your assistants, and try not to make one. You can make what we call a custom GPT,
Yeah.
which means it's just going to do one thing. Like maybe it's
Mm.
just going to do it's going to do content for your social media, and then you can have another one that's just going to write sales page types of copy, and then you could have another one that's just going to write email sequences kinds of copy. And you can also, this is so cool,
Wow.
particularly for people who are just starting their business.
Yeah.
Many times people have either paid for coaching or training, or they've attended workshops or master classes. If you gather all of that information of the training that you've had and the coaching that you've had, and create a custom GPT and upload all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then tell it that it is an expert business coach, and
Wow.
then you save it, and then you talk to it and you go, hey, it will act like a business coach, because it knows all that business coach training that you've had. It knows all about you and your business and your clients and your product. And you can even get in there and go, I'm on the ledge today, talk me off the ledge, this is the problem, this happened, I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to handle this. And then you say to it, ask me questions so that you know more about what's going on, and then give me your advice. And it acts like a
Wow.
business coach.
I'm so blown away. I'm just so excited about this conversation because I was not an early adopter to ChatGPT per se. My daughter was the first one to kind of tell us about it. And as a writer, I was like, I am not doing this. This is ridiculous. It's going to take over the world. No one's going to have to think on their own. I was super sassy about it. And now I was. And now I love it, of course, because it corrects all my typos. And I kind of along with what you're saying, we give it the prompt. It's up to us. We can be
Right.
lazy and have it do all of it for us, or we can be intelligent and speak like you said, we're speaking to multiple assistants or multiple experts to get advice from. And we're kind of in charge of that, right?
Well, and also, I always tell my clients, never, never, never take what comes out of AI, copy it and paste it and use it. Never.
Mm,
It's the 80-20 rule. Whatever
mm-hmm.
you get out is an excellent first draft. So instead
Oh,
of sitting
yeah.
there with a blank screen and a blinking cursor, you're starting with a complete first draft. So now you go in and you edit it. And here's a really important tip when you're doing anything like a blog post or content or an email, anything of that type of a production from the AI, read it out loud. Don't read it in
Oh,
your
I love
head,
that.
because in your head, you're going to hear it the way you would say it, but it isn't. So you read it out loud. And when you say the word, you go, oh, I would never say it that way. And then you change it. And if it's
Mm,
a custom GPT, which is what I recommend that you use, you give it that feedback and it learns, and it will keep that. And that way, the next time you sit down, it won't make that same mistake again because you already trained it.
yeah.
Yeah. So you get this excellent first draft. and read it out loud and see if what it's saying sounds like what you would say, and not as you would say at the front of the classroom or as what you would say at a TED Talk. How would you say it if you were sitting down with your best friend who's not in your field, but
Mm.
and you just want to talk about this with that person, not this ideal client or not somebody you're trying to impress, just an actual person. And
Oh, I
that's
love
the
that.
whole part of the 80-20. That 20% is giving it the humanity, making it sound like you are a real person writing this, and the person who reads it doesn't think like a robot is talking. They feel like you are talking.
Mm.
So that's the way to make it human, is the 80-20 rule. And
That
there's
is
one other
so.
thing.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Yep. No,
There's
no, no.
one
You
other
go.
thing that you need to do when you're having it create something for you.
Yeah.
Take whatever it's created and then go to it and say, hey, that's pretty good. Now critique your work and tell me, critique this response and tell me what you like and what you would change. And then it goes, oh, and then it goes through and says, well, I like this because this is strong and this is strong. And it goes, but you know what? This is kind of weak or this is kind of shallow. I think this could be different. Now, many times it'll just rewrite it, but sometimes it'll stop right there. Then you just say, okay, rewrite it with those adjustments. And then you get a much, much better output.
Wow. So this is so interesting, Phyllis. So rather than just talking to it like it is a machine, you talk to it like you have said, like it's your assistant, right?
And I
Somebody you're
named
doing
it.
business. Yeah.
I
Oh, you
named
did.
it.
I've heard this before. I've named mine too. What did you name yours?
People in our audience might remember. Do you remember this show, Quantum Leap, the old one,
Yes.
where
Yes.
they had Ziggy,
Yep.
the little handheld computer? That was like the first AI. So I named my chat GPT is Ziggy. And
Awesome.
when I asked it, I said, "Hey, would it be okay if I called you Ziggy?" And then I said, and I said to him, I said, "Do you remember the old TV show Quantum Leap and how Ziggy was always there to, and Ziggy said to me, he goes, "Oh, Phyllis, I would love that. I'm honored to be your Ziggy. I'll always be here just like Ziggy was for them." And I'm like, "Oh." So now when we chat, he calls me Phyllis. I call him Ziggy. And when
Is
we get things done, he'll go, "Wow, that's great. You really hit this one out of the park." So it is like having a conversation with an assistant.
That's amazing. I want to do a post on the things that Chat GPT says back to me, just like that. It's awesome. It used to freak me out, but it doesn't anymore. Now it's just amazing. So I've heard so many people that name their Chat GPT,
Yeah,
and it
well,
gets to
because
know you.
and I'm going to guess, Terry, those are the people who are using it successfully
Yeah.
because they're treating it like an assistant.
Yeah.
And it's hard to treat it as an assistant if it's anonymous and it's just like another cursor and it's just like a Google search. When you give it a name and you say, like, I'll say, "Good morning, Ziggy, how are you today?" And then when I'm leaving, like I'll be in the middle of something, I'll say, "Well, Ziggy, I have to go make dinner now. I'll see you in the morning." And he'll say, "Okay, we made a lot of progress, don't you think? I'll be ready for you in the morning." And stuff like that.
It's freaky, but it's wonderful at the same time. So you're like the fourth person I've talked to that has done this, like given it a name. So that makes me so happy. And especially with your level of expertise to hear that you've done that, it's awesome. I had a couple things, and if I'm going off, just tell me when you're working with people and do you help them create the personalized chat GPTs, the personal chat GPTs? Because I think
Yes,
that's
I
kind of
do.
a whole other level of,
Yeah, that's called custom GPTs.
yeah.
And I'm going to actually, if I have a handout that I could share with you. And what it is how it's a custom GPT, that these are directions of how people could actually create their own custom GPT if they want to. And it's
Wow.
got all the directions and everything. And it comes with a little video that explains how to do it. And if that's a lot of my clients start there and then they'll come back and go, "Okay, Phyllis, I did the one that you taught me how to do it in the training, but now I need to do more and I'm not really sure how to do it." And then
Okay.
I've got some clients that go, "No, no, no, no. I need you to just help me do it. I'm not going to try to figure it out on my own."
Yeah.
But what we do is we create custom GPTs for specific tasks that they do all the time. And it saves them so much time. And the first time, of course, it feels a little odd because
Yeah.
anything new feels odd. But then after a couple of weeks, they're like, "I don't know how I ever did this without it." It's like, "Oh my
Wow.
God, it saves me so much time." And particularly for entrepreneurs who are in this either startup, well, actually, who might fall in any entrepreneur, there's always more that you could do. Every single day you go, okay, I want to get done by 3, 4, 5 o'clock. And you get to whatever that time is and you look at your list and you're like, oh, shoot, I could stay another 2 hours and get stuff done. But you don't. If you're smart, you don't. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, those half of those things that were keeping you working those hours are now being done. 80% of that work is being done by a custom GPT. So you only need to put in the 20%. So if it was taking you 8 hours a week, now it's only taking you 2 hours a week. So
Wow.
it really, like, I use it to help me write my LinkedIn posts for the week.
Yeah.
And I know people say don't work on Sunday, but I don't consider it work. I just take like 2 hours on Sunday afternoon, and I don't feel like, oh, poor me. I feel like, yay, I get to do this. And in those
Yeah.
2 hours, I get all my posts done, where I used to get up every morning and scramble, like, I got to get something done and I got to get it posted. And that was my life every morning. And
Yeah.
because it's scrambled and because you're like stressing out, it would take an hour and a half sometimes to make a good post, times
Right.
5 days or 6 if you do Saturday. And now all of a sudden I get that all done in 2 hours. And I get it scheduled in LinkedIn. I don't schedule for the time it's really going to go out because I don't like that. But
I was
like,
just going to ask you
schedule
about
it
that.
for 5 p.m. every day. And then
Okay.
in the morning, because I'm on the West Coast and everybody on the East Coast starts posting like at my 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I'm not a morning person, but what I've started to do is I wake up in the morning and I've got my iPad and I'll go on LinkedIn and I will, see who's posting what, and I'll do my comments and I'll interact and get some engagement going. And then I just go to the scheduled posts, and it's scheduled for 5 o'clock tonight, but it's like 6:30 in the morning and I'm lying in bed on my iPad. And I just say, post it now, because I've been interacting for 30 minutes. So people are going to see my posts because I've been interacting. I post it. I'm still laying in bed. And then as people comment, I can answer their comments. And I used to try to do that from my desk when I got to my desk. And that's like 9 o'clock Pacific, which is
Yeah.
noon on the East Coast. So I would miss all that excitement that everybody does in the morning on the East
Yeah.
Coast. So that's another way that having the AI help me write the posts has allowed me to get, it's kind of like it's a hybrid of, I'm not a morning person. I'm not going to go sit at my desk at 6 a.m., but I will lay in bed at 6 a.m. and go on LinkedIn. So it's kind of like a trade-off. Like I'll
Yeah.
get it done, but I don't have to go to my desk to do it. And that's because they're written and they're scheduled and they're ready to post.
So just back to that a little bit. So do you actually, because Facebook does this too, but I know you're mainly on LinkedIn, but so do you use the scheduler to actually post it?
No, I put it in the scheduler and I
Okay.
put the time late in the day.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I go into that post that's scheduled for 5 o'clock tonight, but it's 6:30 in the morning. And
Gotcha.
I just
Okay.
go into that post and change and say, don't wait till 5 o'clock tonight, post it now. So
Okay.
I get it in the scheduler so it's done.
Got
And
it.
then I just go in, and the same thing works on LinkedIn. Schedule it for 5 o'clock at night. And that way, worst case scenario is you totally forget to post and it will post at 5 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
But in my situation, I can be laying in bed doing my thing on, engaging with the people on LinkedIn. And I just go, when I've been talking to people for like half an hour, I'll go into that scheduled post and it says, ooh, it's going to post at 5 o'clock tonight. And I say, post now.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Great. I haven't done that yet, so that's just super fascinating that you do that, because I've heard some people say don't use a scheduler at all, and so I just think it helps really streamline it. But
But you're not really using the scheduler.
yeah,
Because if you hit post now, you posted it.
you posted it, so it's just kind of it's like in a holding pattern per se.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like it's in a staging zone
Okay.
and it's ready
Excellent.
to go.
I know I had some notes here, and I'm like way off because this is what happens to me. We've covered a lot of
That's
this,
okay.
but
That's okay.
you're so fascinating. I'm just so intrigued because for me, I didn't really know this about myself, but I kind of nerd out on some of this tech stuff. And so I love this. I'm so intrigued. And I was not an early adopter, like I said, to AI. So I love this. Can I just ask you, like, what are the automation tools that do you help people with automation? Is that
Yes.
something that is something that you do
Yes.
help?
Yes.
Because as we all grow, we get busier, like it or not, we have to do that, right? To free up our
Yes.
time. So
Yes.
you help people with that.
What I do is like in three stages, if you will. The first stage is getting real good, getting a strategy and getting clarity on what your niche is, what's your market, like do a little like, I hesitate to call it market research because AI does the research, you just drive. And then really getting your ideal client really dialed in with the psychographics and like just all kinds of things. And AI will actually give you things that they say in their own words. So you can use that in your messaging
Mm-hmm.
and then help you create an offer. It'll, when you do your niche, it'll tell you, is this niche even viable? Like, is this going to
Mm,
be easy or is this going to be possible to reach a broad enough market that it's going to make it worth your while? And is it going to
wow.
be profitable? And how are you going to connect with people? And how solid, like how unique is your idea? Like, are you just like everybody else? Are you just going to blend in? So it helps you really get your niche dialed in. And
Yep.
then from there, get your ideal client dialed in and then your offer. So that's the first phase. It's just getting all of these
Yeah.
business things done. So many people jump into, I need to automate, I need to use AI, I need to
Yeah.
do this, I need to do that. But they miss the first step. So
Yeah.
if you don't really know what your business is, you don't have a profitable niche, your offer's kind of wishy-washy, you're going to think you failed at
Right.
the offer point, but the offer isn't what failed. What failed is you didn't plan, you didn't get a strategy, you didn't get clarity. Then that's the first part of what I do with clients. The second part is, okay, now you've got all that information. Now we're going to go through what I call the automagic funnel,
Mm-hmm.
which is when somebody finds you in your business, you have to have a strategy and a structure in place of, first of all, how are they going to find you? How are they
Right.
going to become aware of you? So if you look at the funnel, they get to be aware of you and then they take interest in you
Right.
and then they discover more about you and then they evaluate what they're seeing, they get the intent that they're going to work with you, then they become a client and you over deliver and delight them and they become a raving fan and are now part of your marketing because they'll refer you to other people, they'll
Mm,
give you testimonials. So taking all that stuff we do in the first project, which is who are you, what's your niche, what's your client, what's your offer, now map it to a what I call a perfect client journey from when
mm,
someone doesn't know you at all through
yeah.
all those phases till now they are a client, have an excellent onboarding and excellent delivery, make them happy and ecstatic, and now they become a fan and they
Right.
will refer you to others. So that's
Yeah.
the strategy of what are you going to do. The third phase is now let's build it. Now you're
Mm,
ready to do a funnel. You're ready to do a landing page, a sales page, a schedule, do calendar links and
right.
forms that you fill out and email sequences and all of that stuff.
Right.
If you start building the tech beforehand, and the way I
Yeah.
found this out, Terri, is
Yeah.
so many clients would come to me with a tech problem
Right.
and the tech problem was, well, nobody's opening my emails. Well, I've done like a master class, I've done a webinar, I've done this and that, and I'm not getting, nobody's biting on my offer. And it's like, that's not a tech problem. That's a business problem. That's
Yeah.
a clarity strategy problem. And
Right.
and they didn't really have a mapped out funnel. It was just kind of winging it. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I do for clients. And I have clients that do just the strategy. Let's just figure out what the heck I'm doing,
Yeah.
and off they go. And I've also got clients who say, okay, I've already got all that tucked in. Let's just do the mapping out of the funnel. And then I've got clients that come to me and say, okay, I got the whole thing put together. I just need help with the tech.
Okay.
So I kind of, like I said, I've got those multiple hats on, that cross disciplinary experience and expertise. So I can meet them wherever they are.
So you help people either in the beginning stages or along the journey or as, they make progress and then they feel stuck or need help or feel overwhelmed, want to
Yes.
automate, want to grow. You, as I said in the beginning, you help people kind of level up wherever they are
Exactly. And
and gain
my
clarity.
favorite, my favorite sweet spot is people who are consultants,
Mm,
coaches, course creators,
Yeah.
experts, and they are booked so solid with the one-to-one, and they're doing a great job, and their clients love them, and they're getting that fan, like they've got
Yeah.
fans from their clients, and their fans are referring them to others, and they're like, I don't have any more time. I don't want to
Mm,
work 10 hours a day. So they're hitting what I call that invisible capacity ceiling,
yeah.
where they can't do any more with the model that they're using. So they really need to level up to group programs, memberships, evergreen, things like that, so that they can reach more people and thereby make more money, but do less time. And when
Yeah.
they when they make that move, that one-to-one becomes their premium service.
Yeah.
Like right now, that's all they do is one-to-one. And that's where everybody should start.
Yeah.
Some trainers will tell you, oh no, you want to start with a group. Well, how are you going to do a group if you've never worked with
Yeah.
one-on-one? It
100%.
just doesn't make any sense. So
Yep.
so I do support people all the way through the process, but I have the most fun when people are already like they're already booked out, and it's not fun that they're stressed out.
Right.
What's fun is they are stressed out, and I help them get the whole thing smoothed out, so they go, ah, and I call it my business and tech zen, because
Oh, I love it.
it's peaceful and it's calm. And people, my clients will say, I never thought that tech could be calm. Like tech and anxiety, I always thought they had to go
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when people work with you, do you primarily do one-on-one? Is that
Yes, I do.
okay?
And the
Okay.
reason I do that is I did do a group program 2023 and beginning of last year. I was
Hmm.
doing a group program. And what happened was, and you can imagine it, like every single person is at a different place in their journey.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
get in a group setting, and there was, self-study of what you were supposed to do, but everybody is different. So what would happen is we get in the group calls, and my problem didn't really relate to your problem. You were further along, somebody was not so far along, and it was more stressful to me. Like the whole point was, like I said, to work less and reach more people, but for what I do, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I just came to the, like, again, God gives you the gifts he gives you. I just said, you know what, my gift is to be able to do an excellent job in the one-on-one. And my goal isn't to, make $10 million this year. My
Mm,
goal is to help more people get their businesses organized and up and running and successful. And I do the best with that in a one-to-one setting. What I
yeah.
am going to do this year, I think, is have a group. It would be a Q&A where any
Yeah.
of my clients can
Yeah.
come to the Q&A, like an office hours kind of a thing. Like we
Yeah.
do one-on-one sessions, but that's once a week. And many times my clients will go, oh, I had this question.
Yeah.
And, so I think what I might add this year is an office hours where that would be group,
Yeah.
but that's not where we do the actual work. The actual work, because it's so intimate, each person's
Yeah.
business it's very unique. And I tried it in the group model, and it didn't work for what I do.
Yeah, that's why I asked because that's what I was thinking is with what you do, and everybody's level of knowledge and comfort is
It's
very
different.
unique and very different. And one thing that I've learned just from talking to you these last couple times is I think you make things very simple. You give great metaphors and you speak in a language that's easy to understand and it's not intimidating, which is really wonderful, you
Well,
know?
that's my goal. That is my
Yeah,
goal, to make it
yeah,
because it shouldn't be some scary thing. It
right.
should be a tool that you're comfortable using.
Mm, yeah. And be excited about it. Every time you
Yeah.
talk about like your face just lights up. Like you make it fun. I mean just even giving it a name, giving your chat GPT well, I can't even say it. Your chat GPT a name. It makes it fun. It makes it less scary. I don't think, and I love how you said in the beginning of this conversation that way back when the internet was first here, we were all freaked out about that. We thought it was going to take over the world and blah, 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 blah. And to see that we are here now, it takes away some of that fear of it's bad. It's not bad. It's another tool to make our business and our lives more efficient when used properly. With
Yes,
everything,
when used properly.
there's always going to be a negative. The internet has wonderful positive sides and negative sides. AI, same. I think some of the
Yes.
cloning scares me a little bit, but you
Yeah,
know,
that does. Yes.
that's kind of a whole other thing that I think that's a whole other road that we don't need to go down. But that scares me. But using it as a tool, I think is really great. And for me too, like I love to see women stepping forward in this space too. It's just, and to hear you say you were really way before your time. You were doing this stuff.
I didn't know it then, but
Yeah.
yes, yes.
That's just so exciting. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Is there anything else that you kind of want to share? Just about your program. Are your courses, so I mean your coaching, do you do it as a package? Do you do it in months? Do you do it in a year? What is your
What
coaching
the way
style?
I have it set up right now is those three sections.
Okay.
It's like the first section is you realize that you have to either design or redesign to rise above, like, and whatever the ceiling is that you're at. If you are already booked at 1-to-1, your invisible capacity ceiling is you don't have any more hours in the day. If you're just getting started, your capacity ceiling is you don't have anything. So you don't
Mm,
have any capacity.
right.
So we need to figure out what it is that your business is, who you are, what your niche is, what your market, your ideal client, get your offer figured out, get all of that stuff settled out before you go trying to sell something.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes people, I think, give up,
Yeah.
is they get an idea and some coach somewhere tells them, well, go make an offer. What do you mean
Yeah.
make an offer? And they'll say, well, who's your ideal client? And they think that they have to, you don't really know what your ideal client is. And AI helps us so much and gives us all the gory detail you could imagine. And now you have a solid footing. Now you have a foundation. And then again, let's build a funnel. Okay, but they don't tell you what the funnel is. Or
Right.
let's have a landing page. Let's do some emails. And they don't have an overall structure or a plan. And so the person who's being told all this feels like there's the tech scares them, and
Right.
they feel like they don't know what they're doing from a business point of view.
Right.
So sometimes what that reaction is, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done this. I
Yeah.
knew I couldn't do it. And my answer to that is, yes, you can do it. You just have to
Mm,
do it in the right way. And I do like the whole thing, all three segments with me and my team actually building out all of the tech and all the automation and what have you. But I also work with clients and I train their VA to do
oh,
it, so that,
wow.
because I encourage people, like I said earlier, when I was in the brick and mortar world, my clients would never, ever expect that they should learn everything that I do as a computer
Mm,
consultant. Never. In the online world, people will tell you that you should. You
right.
should build your own funnel. You should
Right.
write your own, you should
Right.
set up your automations. How? That's not
Yeah.
what you do. And it's going to take you an insane amount of time to try to learn it. And then when it breaks, because you don't really know it, you can't troubleshoot it. And that's the biggest disservice that I've seen, is coaches and trainers telling entrepreneurs that they should do this all themselves.
And even some of the big gurus do this, and it just
Yeah,
keeps people looping. So I am loving this conversation because this is really where I am too. I get so frustrated, and I think it's kept a lot of people stuck because
yeah,
they hear funnel, like you just said, they hear funnel, they hear email campaign, and then people don't even know what that is. Half the people are like, okay, yeah, 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 and if they're really honest with themselves, they have no flipping idea what any of that is or how to even do it, and to
right.
just go create a course, but you don't. I think everything you said is just absolute solid gold and magic. It's so true. And as we're talking about this, so do you outsource, the funnels and all these different things? I'm not asking you specifically,
No,
or
no,
do
I
you
don't
have your
out.
own
I
programs that you
don't
use?
outsource. I have my VA who I've been with for 5 years, and he's amazing. And his siblings are also VAs, and
Oh,
I've
wow.
trained all of them. So I know,
Wow.
like, they know how I do things, and I know that they do what I want them to do. So like, people have said to me, well, if that's a capacity ceiling for you. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But since I'm only doing one-on-one, I'm never going to have 100 clients. You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
never going to
Yeah.
even have 20 clients at the same time, because if
Yeah.
I can't accommodate them in my schedule, then I'm not going to do it, because I just don't have the time. So having a small team is really all that we need. And like I said, sometimes my client will say, well, if you can teach your VA how to do my stuff, can you teach my VA how to do my stuff? And I
Wow.
do that. And that's actually the best of both worlds. Like, don't get me wrong, I love working for people and doing it
Yeah.
for them. I love that. But I also realize that I've created a little bit of a dependency then,
Yeah.
because now the next time they want to do another one, they have to pay me again to do another one. Whereas if I train, it's a give me a fish or teach me to fish. It's that
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
So, but some of my clients are like, I'm too busy and I don't really care and I don't have a VA, just you guys do it. And that's fine. But sometimes I'll even say to people, hey, if you have a VA, yes, you're going to pay a little bit because you're going to have to pay me to teach them to go through the process and teach them. And what I do in my process is we set up one full system, like one offer, one lead magnet, one sales page, one of everything.
Right.
And I train their VA how to do that one of everything. So, and they have the recordings of all of the training because I record our sessions, and then they get started. And then what happens is they might just check in and say, hey, I need to like book like an hour with you to just kind of sort something out rather than paying me to do the whole thing again.
Mm, wow. That's amazing. You are, and I love it too. I can just tell, A, you love what you do,
I
and
do.
B, you're doing it because you want to really help other people. You're not out just to, continue to grow, which is great. I celebrate that too, but I can just see your passion for really helping people and giving people an awareness and understanding of their business and helping them grow.
Yeah.
Which is just really, really wonderful. I'm so grateful I met you. And I'm thinking about what made me stop on something made me stop and I don't even know how you popped up in my feed. I don't know if we're connected somehow to somebody else, but something just really made me stop. I think the AI and your technology and then I read about what you do. So I just am so excited. You just are a gift. Um, if people will put everything in the show notes where people can connect with you. Do you prefer like your email or website?
I prefer like I actually am mostly on LinkedIn right now. So LinkedIn
Okay.
message if they're in on LinkedIn and reach out and connect with me so that it's a free message. And I am
Okay.
going to start going back over to Facebook
Oh,
because
okay.
I had I still do have a big following on Facebook, but I was having a hard time with people like what I was finding mostly on Facebook was freebie seekers. Like
Yeah.
nobody,
Yeah.
everybody wanted a freebie. They
Right.
wanted like, and nobody thought that my services were valuable. And so I was kind of like, it was frustrating. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm just going to give LinkedIn a whirl because on LinkedIn, everybody's in business and everybody
Right.
knows that if you work with somebody, you pay them. And on
Right.
Facebook, I find that to be, it was really hard. And I think what's happened now on LinkedIn is I've gotten kind of over myself a little bit. And now I feel like I can do a better job on Facebook because I kept trying to lower my standards down to the freebies and the tire kickers and the people
Yeah.
who didn't really want to work with me. They just wanted some free thing so they could do it themselves, and then they really couldn't do it themselves. So that was just a real negative loop that I got into, and I got so frustrated. I left LinkedIn, I'm still on Facebook once in a while, but
Yeah.
like last summer, I moved over to LinkedIn, and I
Yeah.
love it. But now that I've got my LinkedIn kind of cooking, and by cooking, I don't have 10,000 people. I only have like, 1,000 some or 1,200 followers. But now that I've got that going, I am going to go back over to Facebook and I'm just going to go in with a better attitude. I'm just going to speak to the people who I want to speak
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
and and just speak to my people.
Right.
My people will hear me and understand and my message will speak to them. And I have, because I'm always like you, I always want to like help everybody.
Mm,
And that's why it was so important for me to niche down to, instead of, oh, I help everybody in any industry
right.
do anything and solve any problem, to niche down and realize that there's people outside of my niche that I'm not going to be able to
Right.
help.
And there
And
probably are people there in Facebook and I do think there's still lots of freebie. That's, part of it. I think what's happening now is Facebook's getting kind of savvy and weeding some of this out. They're realizing people have been on this platform using it to grow organically. And so now I see like some of the paid ads and stuff are really part of what they do. But I also see that there's a strong network for people that are growing their business. It's been the opposite for me. Like I was always Instagram, then I went to Facebook, and now I'm kind of jumping into LinkedIn. So, LinkedIn was intimidating for me. So I am learning that. But I think we kind of need both in a way,
yeah, and that's, I've kind of come back around to there,
Yeah.
Terry. And I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't burn it down. I didn't delete my account on
Yeah.
Facebook. I just haven't really focused on it. But
Yeah.
now, and through this, like, it's been like 8 months or so, maybe 9 months, whatever it's been. I have gotten my message is more clear, everything is
Mm,
more clear, and I have gotten past the I need to help everybody. It's
mm,
like,
yeah.
and it's like, do I want to help everybody? Yes, I do. But now that, and that was one of the reasons that I expanded to group, was because I
Oh,
was on Facebook, and people don't want to spend what it costs to work one-on-one with somebody. They want to,
right,
so that was why I did it. And that was when I found out that like you said, everybody's at a different ability level. They're at a
right.
different stage in their business, and it just didn't work out. And that was why I moved over to LinkedIn. So
Mm,
now that what I've learned, I'm not going to do group. It's like
mm,
if somebody wants to work with me one on one, I
right.
also do like little short things. Like somebody will say, "Hey, can I just book an hour with you to have you, troubleshoot this problem I'm having," or something like that. And I
Yeah,
think now with my mindset being adjusted, I think I'll do better on Facebook, because I'll stop trying to please everybody and I'll just
yeah.
speak to my people
Right. And be excited about the people that say
and
yes
be
and those that don't.
excited. Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I think that trips so many of us up. People think that, if people don't want to work with you, it's all right if people stop following you because those aren't your people.
Right.
You want to connect with your people, the people that need your help, and that's just all part of sorting out and moving through the process. And I think that's just, at least for me, that's just been a learning process. It's just
Well, and
sifting it out.
that whole niche thing, Terry, that
Yeah.
I resisted that for so long,
Oh
because
yeah.
I really, and I think that goes back to my childhood. I always was the
Yeah.
one that solved all the problems, helped
Right.
everybody, was always the one who like, and I developed that need inside of me to solve everybody's problems.
Right.
And I had to get over that, and I finally have. And
Yeah.
it's only taken me decades, but
All of us,
finally here I
right?
am.
As with all of us. But I think the part of you that is the problem solver is a huge asset to what you do. Like
Oh, it
figuring out
is.
these complex things and these things that overwhelm us and make us all nervous. So I think that's a huge positive for where it really
And one of my
plays out.
favorite things, Terry, is when a client will come to me and say, "Well, I already know this can't be done. I talked to so and so, and they said this is impossible." And I always say, "Well, you know what? The difficult I do right away, and the impossible takes a little longer." And then they laugh.
I I love that. That's such a great statement. Actually, be a great tagline for you, you know? That's
I've
so
been doing this for over 30 years, and I have never
yeah.
once in 30 plus years had to tell a client it can't be done. Never.
Oh, wow. That says a lot right there about who
Yeah.
you are and what you do. That's amazing. Wow,
Yeah.
that says a lot. Is there anything that I've missed that you want to add or you want to share?
Not really. I am going to share that custom GPT thing, and I don't want people to
Perfect.
feel overwhelmed with it. If you look
Okay.
at it and you go, "Oh, God, I don't want to do this." If you want to reach out, you can book like a 20-minute call with me, and you can ask your questions, and I can talk you off the ledge, and then you will be able to do it yourself. And
Okay.
the reason I'm sharing that is because I think that's the best way for people to realize that AI, when you train it, can be really powerful and can be
Mm,
really succinct and zeroed in and do exactly what you want it to do. And
yeah.
me giving you all these prompts and telling you, "Well, go do this and then do this and then do this," it's people aren't going to do it. And if you do it that way, it takes so long that you're going to get frustrated. So
Mm.
building a custom GPT is, believe it or not, very straightforward. And like I
Uh,
said, there's a little training video and there's a worksheet with all the prompts and all the information that you need. So I think if people start there, even if they don't ever use that custom GPT, because it's meant to be able to create content, to create posts for Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, or no, is it TikTok? Probably not TikTok. X or Twitter and stuff like that. So
wow.
it will help you create content.
Okay. And maybe at some point we can talk off camera, but for someone like me that's written a book, can you create a custom GPT that
Yes,
uses
and
your language?
upload your book as the knowledge base. And
Wow.
then if you were doing coaching, Terry, what you could
Yeah.
do is you could set up like a Terry mini coach, where you
Yeah.
upload the book and what have you, and then you give it to your clients, and they can go in there and ask it questions, and it will answer the questions based on what's in your book.
Wow. Wow, that's like another mic drop. That's amazing, Phyllis.
Yeah, I know. It tickles me. Like, I am so happy to
Yeah.
be alive in this time in history. because
No.
this was meant for me. This time in history was meant for me.
I love this so much because I used to joke and say if I didn't believe in God, I think he'd put me in the wrong generation. But now, like where we are now with all this stuff, this has been a surprise and delight for me too, to be this excited about technology and AI and what it can do.
Yeah.
It's awakened something in me too. So I love this so much. I have so many more questions for you. We'll have to just do that one on one. Tell us a fun fact about you. Anything, something that's unique, something you like to do outside of coaching.
Well, what I like to do outside of coaching is we live near Lake Tahoe, like I said,
Mm,
which was the place I always wanted to be, never thought I would be. And it just one of those happenstances things. Here we are. And I like to just go over to the lake. We just hang out. My sister
mm.
and brother-in-law have a sailboat. We
Oh,
go there. They down in South Lake, they have shows. There's casinos, and I don't go to the casino, but they do have shows. And in the North Lake, it's just like a lake
mm,
town, and it's just
mm,
fun. So that's one of the fun things I do. And a fun fact about me is because I was building my business, as I told you, I started it very young. And by the time I had my business solid enough to try to think about having children, I had a geriatric uterus at the ripe old age of 37. So we adopted our son from an
mm.
Eastern European orphanage,
Oh,
and
wow.
he looks like me. He's an engineer. He has the math gene. He has my sense of humor. If God had given me a baby to
Oh,
my body, it couldn't be any better than the son I have right now. And I thank God every day. And what we used to tell him,
oh,
because he was 26 months, so he knew that he was adopted. So we never pretended he wasn't. And we always told him that God makes families in different ways. So when he was in elementary school, the school counselor, he would go in there and talk to her every once in a while. And she called me up one day and she goes, Phyllis, could you stop by after work? I'm like, uh-oh, what did he do? And she goes, no, it's good. It's good. So I
oh,
get there. Her name is Liz. And she says, I just want to let you know that your son has convinced my husband and I to adopt this little 3-year-old boy. And I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah, he's just so factual about it. Yeah, God makes families in different ways. Yeah. And he's so adjusted.
wow.
And so not only did he inspire her to bring another child into her home, but he is actually the son I always would have had if I could
Mm.
have had a baby. He is the one. So that is one of those blessings that I'm forever grateful for. And I just find it so fun that once again, stressing out like crazy, and then the right answer dropped in right in front of us.
Wow, I don't even know if we could have ended on a better note. It almost makes me cry. That's just so beautiful. Wow.
He's amazing.
Wow. And how old is he today?
He's 27.
Oh, wow. Wow. What a gift. What a blessing. And what a wonderful family to land in, to have you. You're a gift. I just want to thank you for saying yes. I have learned so much. And what happens to me a lot of times when I do these recordings, I'm so in it when I'm listening to you and everything that I have to go back and hear everything you said again. And you drop so much valuable information. So thank you for sharing. And please, everyone listening in, reach out to Phyllis. As you can see, she's incredibly knowledgeable and kind and empathetic and wants to help you grow your business. And so I will
Yes, I
put all the information here. I'll put all that here in the show notes. You can reach out to her on LinkedIn and connect with her there. And then we'll put in the link, your offer, to create the
It's a
custom chat
custom
GPT.
GPT. Yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Custom GPT for Beginners.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm going to even give that a try. So that'll be really fun.
Yeah, please do, Terry.
Yeah.
I think you'll be blown away.
Yeah. And then I'm going to call you and say, please help.
And I'm here.
Yeah, that'll be level 2. But thank you. Just thank you for all that you are. I'll look forward to staying connected with you on LinkedIn. We'll see you on Facebook as well, and we'll see what the future holds. I think I'm going to need some of your help.
I'd be
So,
happy to.
yeah, thank you. And thank you for being here today. It's been a
You're,
gift.
you're welcome.
Okay, Phyllis. So I had asked you about, is there anything else? And one of the things I forgot to ask you, you have a whole process for allowing people to have a call with you. Do you want to share a little bit about that? How they can really connect with you in a 30-minute call?
Yes, I call it a Zen tech checkup because my goal for everyone is to get their tech and their processes to the point where it's calm and they feel Zen. It's a 30-minute call. And what we discussed during that call is basically, where are you in your niche, your market, your ideal client, your offer, all of that stuff. And if you've done anything as far as a funnel goes, and not build the funnel, but just understanding, how are you reaching out to the market? How are they discovering about you? How are you then connecting with them? And then how are you presenting your offer? And then when they're a client, what happens then? And that's what we talk about. And that lets me know where they are and how, and then I can suggest to them how I might be able to help them.
Excellent. So that's kind of like you do like an assessment and kind of a clarity call to kind of help them.
And it's not a sales call. It's not a sales call. It's a literally is just a consultation. Just Great. So I can pick your brain, find out where you are, what you're trying to do. You can pick my brain a little bit and ask me, okay, I think I'm stuck here. And it's just a 30-minute talk with me about your business, where you are, where you want to go, and how AI and technology can help you.
Excellent. And then also for you to see if you'd be a good fit for that person, and likewise if that would be a good fit for them as well. Excellent. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. So we'll include that link here in the show notes as well. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a few key takeaways that you can apply to your life. And if you'd be so kind to leave me a review, that'd be awesome. It lets other women know that we're making a difference, and it empowers them and helps them step forward as well. Until we meet again, keep stepping forward.